Hi everyone, here we are back in Dragon Slayers Academy. They're in a class, remember, with Mordred, and he's asking, what else do you know? What else did you learn? And Wiglaf meekly puts up his hand and says, a dragon's weakness? Do you remember how Eric went, I'm not going to learn anything from him, not likely. Well, new boy, Mordred said, pray tell us what you know. I know very little, Wiglaf began. See, Eric cut in, what did I tell you? But the headmaster ignored him. New boy, he said, know you the secret weakness of the dragon Gorzel? No, sir, Wiglaf answered. His weakness is still a secret. Too true, Mordred sighed sadly. But it would be useful to know it, for Gorzel is rumored to be in the dark forest. My scout Yorick is there now. As soon as he finds Gorzel's cave, I shall send my best boys out to slay him, and claim his great, big, golden hoard. These words were barely out of Mordred's mouth when a small man burst into the classroom. Branches and leaves were tied to his tunic as if he was trying to disguise himself as a bush. Yorick! Mordred exclaimed. Back so soon? What news from the dark forest? My lord, Yorick began, Gorzel has moved to a cave outside the village of Toenail. Toenail! Torblad shrieked. My family lives in Toenail. Sit down, Torblad, Mordred snarled. Go on, Yorick. My lord, Yorick said, the Toenailians have brought Gorzel all their gold. Now he swears to burn Toenail to the ground, unless a son and a daughter of the village are outside his cave tomorrow. Tomorrow at dawn, in time for breakfast. Oh, that's nice of Gorzel, Torblad said, cheering up, having company for breakfast. You ninny, Mordred cried. They are to be his breakfast. The headmaster turned back to his scout. So, I shall send boys out to slay Gorgles this very afternoon. Then a look of horror crossed his face. Egad, he exclaimed. Class 2 and Class 3 have just left on that blasted field trip to see the petrified dragon skeleton. That means I shall have to send Class 1 boys. Pray send me, Eric cried, falling to his knees. Yes, yes, Mordred said, but remember, we have a buddy system here. I'll need another volunteer. He looked around the room. Anyone but Angus. If I sent you, I'd never hear the end of it from your mother. All right, who will it be? Oh, yeah, because his mother is his sister. No hands went up. Come on, Mordred coaxed. Gorzel's not so bad. Still, no hands went up. My patience grows thin, Mordred warned. Then his violet eyes lit upon Wiglaf. You, new boy, he boomed. You seem to know a fair bit about dragons, and I chanced to look at the register book at lunchtime. You never paid your 7 pennies. That is so, Wiglaf began, but he stopped. He had promised not to tell Frypot anything about the dishwashing deal. No buts, Mordred cried. You shall go with Eric, and you shall pay your 7 pennies out of Gorzel's gold. Oh, sir, Eric cried. Pray pick someone else. Wiglaf has not even been here a whole day. He knows nothing of slaying. You slay Gorzel then, Mordred shouted. Let him pull the cart for the dragon's hoard. Now be off. You must reach Gorzel's cave by dawn. What are you waiting for? Go! Chapter 7. Ready, Wiglaf? Eric called as he hurried toward the gatehouse. Wiglaf was bent over, trying to fix a wobbly wheel on the hoard cart. He glanced up and was nearly blinded by the glare from Eric's sleighing outfit. Eric stood proudly before him in a gleaming silver helmet. He carried a broad silver shield, and a wide silver belt held his sword. Wiglaf only had Shortkill. So Wiglaf is an unlikely hero, correct? He's not dressed for it. He doesn't have the correct sword. What fine gear, Wiglaf told Eric. Yes, Eric agreed. I sent away for it from the Sir Lancelot Fan Club catalogue. Come, you shall pull the cart, as Mordred said. Let us be off. My sword is itching to slay the dragon. Wiglaf began to slide back the great iron bolt in the gatehouse door, but a yell from Eric made him stop. Boar! Eric cried. Wild boar! Wiglaf turned to see Eric with his sword drawn and his shield up. Stand back, Eric shouted. I shall slay the charging beast. What beast? Wiglaf asked. Then he spotted something running toward them across the castle yard. You know who it was? Yeah, it was Daisy. Eric, stop, stop. That is my pig Daisy. Eric stopped and glumly lowered his sword. He jammed it back into his scabbard and stomped off, grumbling. Do you know what the word scabbard is? So you might not, but let's think about what he did. He jammed his sword back into the scabbard. So it must be a place where you keep your sword. Makes sense, right? So you could picture that. Wiglaf ran to Daisy. Iglaf way! Ekte ime ith way ooye! I cannot, Wiglaf said sadly. He squatted down beside her and scratched her bristly ears. It's too dangerous, for I am off to hunt a dragon. Orzilke? Daisy's voice trembled. Wiglaf nodded. Who knows? Perhaps I shall return a hero. He tried to smile. But if I do not return, I'm sure Frypot will take good care of you. Now I must go. Farewell, best pig in the world. Farewell, Fay Iglaf way, Daisy called after him. Udge akle. Wiglaf waved and hurried back to the gatehouse. Then he picked up the cart handle. Let us be off, he said to Eric. Wiglaf and Eric followed the trail down the hill from Dragon Slayer's Academy. Then they headed north on the Huntsman's Path. They walked along beside the swampy river all afternoon. Strange birds called out from the stunted trees along the way. Hairy-legged spiders dropped down on them from overhanging branches. Once, an angry troll threatened them with his club. But Wiglaf was not afraid. The thought of facing Gorzel was so terrifying, nothing else bothered him. Well, almost nothing. I shall slay Gorzel no problem, Eric announced for the 200th time. I shall plunge my sword into his throat. I shall twist it. Buckets of blood will gush from the dragon's steaming wound. I shall... You know, Wiglaf finally broke in. My sword was made for dragon slaying too. That bent-up old thing, Eric sneered. Wiglaf nodded. A wizard gave it to me. When I say magic words, it will leap from my hand and obey. Eric, doubtful. And just what are those magic words? Well, the wizard had forgotten, Wiglaf stumbled. It matters not, Eric scoffed as they came to a fork in Huntsman's Path. One path led to the village of Toenail. The other led into the dark forest. For I shall slay the dragon with my own silvery sword. I shall cut Gorzel to ribbons. I shall... Suddenly, Eric stopped talking. He stared at the blackened leaves of a nearby bush. Behold, the bush is scorched! Wiglaf bent down to take a closer look. So it is, he agreed. Could it be from the hot breath of a dragon? How could it not? And look, Eric pointed to the ground. Footprints! Wiglaf stared at the huge three-pointed print in the path in front of him. My, but these footprints are large, he exclaimed. Come, Eric said. They will lead us to Gorzel Cave. Hark! What noise is that? Wiglaf listened. It sounds like someone crying. The sound grew louder, and then a boy and a girl about Wiglaf and Eric's age came along the path from Toenail. Tears streamed down their cheeks. What ails you, good travelers? Eric called to them, and how can we help? Alack-a-day, the boy wailed. You cannot help us. No one can. My sister Zelda and I are on our way to Gorzel's cave. Do you mean, Wiglaf began, that you are the son and daughter of the village? That you are to be Gorzel's breakfast? Zelda nodded. I fear it is so. The Toenail village masters held a lottery, and alas, Gawain and I won. If only a brave knight would slay Gorzel and save us, Gawain said. But there's no hope of that. Eric yanked his sword from its scabbard and held it high in the air. Fear not, young friends. Eric the Dragon Slayer is at your service. Gawain and Zelda stared at him. You? Zelda said. Eric nodded. You are but a boy, she scoffed. Eric sniffed. I am first in my class at Dragon Slayer's Academy. I shall slay Gorzel no sweat. Do you know how many brave knights have tried and perished in his flames? Gawain asked. No, but... Eric began. Gorzel will toast you like a marshmallow, Zelda declared, unless you come up with a clever plan. Yeah, toast you like a marshmallow. Do you remember that? That's figurative language. He's not going to really toast him like a marshmallow, but she's saying that he will be killed by the breath of the dragon. Okay, I noticed that the time is almost up, so I will stop here. Hopefully they will come up with a plan to save this little boy and little girl from Toenail Village. Bye-bye.